Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you on this July 14th, 2025. I've got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. A lot to get into today. On the back half of this episode, we'll be discussing more of the Epstein conspiracy as the whole country is unified in saying we will not rest until we get the client list exposed. That, and then also we'll be discussing ICE, what's going on Alligator Alcatraz. But first, I've got Laura Owens updates towards her bizarre case, and then Justin Baldoni. His legal team has responded to Blake Lively trying to get the deposition moved from his law firm to hers. Great response. Again, we'll share that. And then if you stick around, I'll also share my Kristen Bell story. That's right. Did I become best friends with Kristen Bell over the weekend? I'm going to let you guys know all of that and more. It all starts right now on The Rush. Let's dive into Laura Owens. Let's jump right into her. So she, we were able to acquire, everyone in the Justice for Clayton community here, posted by Justice for Clayton official, acquiring the court filing for her trying to extend her restraining order. The interesting thing here, and again, this is her restraining order against Mike Maricini. The interesting thing here is that she mentions, and I'm just going to quote, "I was horrified to learn Mr. Maricini publicly released nearly 2,500 pages of private text messages exchanged between us in 2016, 2017. Now, again, we raised funds, our community did, I think $3,000 or $5,000, raised funds to get a computer forensics expert to verify that those were real text messages. But of course, she had previously signed an affidavit under oath, which is what an affidavit is, under oath, saying, I never faked ovarian cancer or whatever the hell she said. Well, this confirms that she believes the messages are real. She inadvertently acknowledges the report's legitimacy, despite previously denying its authenticity. So the fact that she's filing this in California is banana land. And again, it's in part to harass Mike Maricini and the other victims. She's completely delusional, facing 7 felonies, and this is the stuff she's doing. Now, what's really interesting is we're finding out, I don't have all of the specifics of her attorney, David Gingriss's DUI, but he apparently, according to this, was arrested 3 minutes from Laura Owens' residence. Which it's like, look, you got to work with your clients. You got to get a signature. Maybe have a quick couple of cocktails. So we don't have the body cam footage or any of the specifics. But anyhow, we're going to dive into this. I mean, this is absolute wild stuff. We received an email again from one of our star lawyers who likes to give us their thoughts. Laura and Bruce just read part of Laura's renewal filing on her channel. Laura is even stupider than I thought. Oh boy. Oh, don't be mean to Laura Owens. She just authenticated Mike's computer records, which contain some of her most incriminating and extortionate arts and crafts, including her impersonating of doctors and falsification of medical records. It all comes in as evidence of pattern, practice, bad acts in the Arizona case and any future criminal and civil cases. There are other admissions against interest and demonstrable lies in the document Lauren and Bruce reviewed. My poor retired litigator's head is already reeling. I believe but can't prove that Gingras helped Laura draft the renewal document. So yeah, I mean, it's wild stuff. It's absolutely wild stuff. And how much of this will be used against her? I always wondered when you hear about lawyers, or when cops say anything you say can and will be used against you. And you're always like, hey, come on, Bo. What, if you're just telling the truth, what harm could it be? Well, this is a good example when a lawyer says, shut up, this is why. All right. So anyhow, more updates on that as they come. TMZ is reporting Justin Baldoni, versus Blake Lively. Blake is trying to big time our deposition. She needs to come to my lawyer's office. So we shared a few days ago that Blake Lively essentially cited several reasons as to why she wanted to have the depositions held at her home court. It's about a mile away from each other. Her lawyers versus Justin Baldoni's lawyers. And traditionally, the deposition is held at the lawyer's office that is trying to gain information about you. Like when I was in a car accident, I had to go do my deposition at the law firm of the insurance companies. And, it's like, whatever, just, if you're there to tell the truth, just go show up and do it. No one's trying to like rough you up. They're just going to ask you questions with there'll be, the camera person there and a couple people in the room, and it's not a big deal. Well, here is Baldoni's response. Dear Judge, defendants oppose Blake Lively's motion for a protective order precluding her deposition at the Manhattan office of the Wayfair Party's counsel, Meister, Seelig, and Fien, MSF, as noticed and directed that it occurs at a location of her choosing. The motion, a master class in hyperbole, should be denied. Lively relies solely on inapplicable authority and unsupported accusations about opposing counsel and their motives. Lively does not present a single fact to support her allegations of a plot to use the deposition as a publicity stunt. Lively is a plaintiff who has hurled serious allegations of misconduct against the Wayfair parties. Like all defendants, Wayfair parties are entitled to depose Lively to develop evidence crucial to their defense. They're also entitled to choose the location of the deposition. And again, they then cite a case study from that same judge. Basically, their way of saying, you'll have to agree with us because you've already set precedent for this in your own case. The cost factor is neutral because the difference in cost between the parties' choices of locations is negligible. As Lively notes, the locations at issue are a mere mile apart. The convenience factor involves consideration of the convenience of counsel, where the witnesses are located, and the extent to which travel would disrupt the witnesses. So they say, look, there's going to be no disrupting. It's like 1 mile away. You take an Uber or whatever. Lively gives short shrift to the relevant factors. Instead, Lively feigns concern about security. Without a whit of evidence, Lively contends that if the location is not changed, she will be assaulted by hordes of paparazzi, and the Wayfair parties may invite the press or hostile third parties to the deposition. This is not only fiction, it is nonsense. They say it's a commercial building, there's private entrances, If Lively is truly concerned about parading through paparazzi, we trust that the professionals that she has already engaged can ensure her safe entry into our building. Lively is welcome to have her security staff accompany her into our office and secure her exit upon the completion of her examination. Feels like SEAL Team 6 level stuff right here, again, they're saying, look, there's a private entrance. What more do you want? A private entrance. Law firm. That's all you need. Boom. Case closed. Right? They're not doing it at a park bench in Madison Square Park. Lively avers that the Wayfair parties have not denied or refuted Lively's allegations and are manufacturing a public spectacle by requiring her to attend a deposition at MSF. The Wayfair parties had no obligation to continuously respond to the barrage of emails from Lively's counsel unilaterally dictating where she will be deposed based upon their contrived allegations of some extent to make a media show for deposition. It is not the Wayfair parties' burden to defend their chosen location. It is Lively's burden to rebut the presumption that the chosen location is proper. Further, the Wayfair parties were not obligated to identify those who would be attending the deposition a week in advance as she demanded. It is ironic, don't you think, that Lively alleges that the Wayfair parties are trying to generate press interest in her deposition, given that she tirelessly ensured that the New York Times widely publicized her allegations and that her representatives provided a self-serving quote to the media about the motion. Although Lively's foot-stomping and use of her celebrity status may have enabled her to seize control of the film, which is the crux of this dispute, her counsel's tantrum has no place in this court. Lively is bound by the federal rules. So anyway, they go, she's having a tantrum. And again, Lively's claim is that Brian Friedman said he wanted to sell tickets to the deposition at Madison Square Gardens. But it's like, look, clearly that's not going to happen. It's going to be done in private. What else can you say? What will the judge do? A lot of folks think the judge has been siding more so with Blake Lively so far. I have to think the judge will side with Justin Baldoni on this mess. But again, we'll have to see. Today's podcast is sponsored by Rula. Finding the right mental health care should be simple and affordable, but for many, it's not. Finding the right provider can make getting help feel overwhelming. That's where Rula comes in. Rula connects you with in-network licensed therapists that accept most major insurance. Their users typically have a copay of $15 per session, making therapy more accessible than ever before. From finding the right therapist to helping you schedule appointments and monitoring your progress, Rula is there to help. Join the thousands who have already turned to Rula for support on their journey to better mental health and well-being. Getting started
started is easy. Just visit Rula.com/rush-hour today. When you sign up, they'll ask how you heard about them. Please support our show by letting them know we sent you. It's a simple way to help us while you take the first step towards the care you deserve. Go to RULA.com/rush-hour now and connect with a licensed therapist who truly cares. Your mental health matters.
Now, before we get into the Epstein conversation, and again, this is I promised my community on Dave Neal's community on Facebook free group, but I said over the weekend I met kind of one of the a pretty big A-lister. I met Kristen Bell. I'll share that story with you guys here. Although a guy should never kiss and tell. So my wife and I went to this new ice cream shop that's in the town I live in Nashville, and we've been here for a year and a half. I don't really. It feels like home, but it's some random suburban town. I lived on the West Coast for 10 years before this, and just in this random, town outside of Nashville. And my wife goes, I think that's Kristen Bell. And it was pretty crowded. It was like a grand opening of this place. I was like, it's not Kristen Bell, And, of course, like she's, with family. But then behind Kristen Bell comes Dax Shepard. Now, Dax Shepard, he's easy to spot. And I'm kind of like, I'm a little... I'm starting to feel a little life, in me, because Dax Shepard, he's one of the biggest podcasters in the world, right? That guy's enormous. So I start Googling, like, did Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell move to Nashville? Turns out they did, at least part-time. They got a home here. And then I'm like, all right, I'm not one of those weird people. I'm not going to go say hi to her. I'm going to let her live her life, do her thing, whatever. And then... we got our son, August. He's 14 months old, and I'm kind of rocking him. He's losing his mind because we won't give him any of the, ice cream we're eating, because we're like, this is our addiction, not yours. And I look up, and Augie, my son, is making eye contact with Kristen Bell, star of Frozen. And Kristen Bell's making eyes with him. They're having this nice connection. And then, I guess, because that's the beauty of children, right? They don't know better. They're staring at things. They have no social cues to stop. So they're, and then of course, Kristen probably saw somebody who wouldn't recognize her, because, he's not watching any movies yet. So he hasn't seen Frozen. Although, maybe, would you recognize her from Frozen? I don't know. But so then we start talking, and I say, hey, Chris, nice to meet you. And she was so nice. I just wanted to share this story without getting into too many of the specifics. She was so nice to my wife, Tasha, and me. She introduced herself. Some of her family were there. They were so kind. I told her we used to live in the same part. We actually lived near each other in Los Angeles, and, talked about that and everything. I'm like, I guess I'm best friends with Kristen Bell now. So Kristen Bell, if you're out there, what a gem. So nice to meet you. And I'm sure she was like, oh, I'm sure she moved to Nashville to meet people from Nashville, and then she met some assholes from Los Angeles. But hey, what can you do? Now, invite us out on the boat. All right. So, or don't. Okay, that's fine. But please do. Or Dax, I'll be on the podcast. Whatever you need from me. Be your armchair expert. I'll give you a massage. Whatever it takes. Okay, I'm just kidding, by the way. But hey, maybe I recognize her, but maybe she recognized me. She could be a member of the Rush. We don't know. All right, coming up next, we've got some real serious stuff to talk about. If you haven't been checking into the podcast for the last few weeks, last week was my launch of a new way to post the YouTube version of these episodes, which is to split up the pop culture BS in the first half, which we love, and then the political stuff in the second half. That way, no one can cry anymore. Dave talks about this, Dave talks about it. It's just, I'm separating it, line down the middle, knock it off, right? If you're listening on audio, you're about to get that just in the same clip. But if you're watching on video, you're going to have to click the next video. And coming up next, we've got Epstein conspiracy, everything that's going off. It is not stopping anytime soon. Trump's threatening to deport Rosie O'Donnell to avert people's eyes. It's a fantastic shipwreck that we are watching sink. That story next.